This video is about a very important concept in chess, and possibly the most important one. Chess is a struggle in practice. Chess is not a static concept that is examined by a computer engine, and those engine tells you, well, in this position white is winning, in this position black is winning. The reality is, when you're playing chess, the game is not won until you won it. And it's a game of complications. It's a game of posing problems to your opponent. And this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at an example in practice where there was a real struggle. So we start with e4, Sicilian defense on the board, knight f3, e6, d4. Like I said, this is not really a video about the opening, so we're just going to go through it. And so now what has happened is the player with the white pieces has secured a strong square here, which also means this pawn is backwards and will stay backwards for as long as we want to. This pawn also restricts the expansion potentially on b5. So overall, it's a pretty good setup for white. Knight c3, queen here, bishop d3, just developing the pieces, castle, trying to do the same, rook on e1. Of course, the idea of this is potentially having traps like, queen here, then knight here, and when he takes, you recapture, and then you've got the queen potentially on e7 when he's castled. This kind of, but it's not clear at this stage. Knight h7. So this is not a very good move, because you're moving a piece twice in the opening instead of perhaps developing another one. So here we go. Now what happens is, now white has converted his previous advantage of having a strong square on d5 and a backwards pawn for black here. This has been converted, as you can see, with the opening of the rook onto e7 and the bishop onto h7. So it's just a matter of taste and evaluation as to whether it's better to have kept the position with the pawn on e4 and start piling up, with a bishop f4 and piling up on the d file to try to win the d6 pawn. It's just a matter of style. So castles. Here, possibly objectively, the right move was queen to c2, but I just played here. So now I just defend the b2 pawn that was under attack with the queen. Knight here. Okay, so what we have now, we have a weakness on g5. Should he decide to push the pawn here to defend the weak pawn on g5, that would create some incredibly weak squares on g6 and e6, and also the queen would be possibly able to transfer from here to there and start causing a lot of problems for black. So queen e2, of course, threatening to go on h5, right like that. Knight here, queen here, g6. So we pick up the pawn. So now we're pawn up. We got a good presence on the king side with prospects of attacking like this, although you have to be careful because he could so easily put his king up, and the attack could backfire. Eventually, he could put a rook here. So you got to be careful. It's definitely not a winning attack for white. You got to play it with care. Here he plays knight e5. Now this is the critical position, and the right move is objectively bishop to e2, and it's threatening f4, dislodging the knight, and so that's one way of playing it. Another way of playing it, which illustrates chess in practice as a struggle, is to simply give up the exchange. Now, this exchange asks the question really about a lot of things. What this is going to do is it's going to pressure black. And looking back at the game, is rook takes e5 a sound sacrifice or not? Well, the answer I don't really know, but it poses a lot of problems to black. This is why I played it. One thing that this does, it actually creates a pass pawn, a protected pass pawn on d6, so that's some sort of compensation. I'm already a pawn up. So let's see how the game unfolded. So black is defending well. Here there probably was a strong case for playing h4 immediately, but I have a different idea, which is going to defend well. All right. So of course, one thing white cannot afford to do is to exchange the queens. So we withdraw, even if it means conceding a little bit. Looks like black has resolved all of its problems, and it's actually quite difficult for white to find a continuation for the attack, assuming that black plays well. Remember, the game is not won until it says 1-0 on the board. So we continue posing problems. Here, he was much better off pushing on f4. The best defense sometimes is a counterattack. So rook here, he could have pushed here. We have rook to f6. Now h4. I wouldn't have. F4 is still the best move in this position. Pushing on f4 is still the best continuation, but my opponent is slightly starting to go wrong, and that's usually a good sign. So h5, rook here. So he's being ambitious, and he's trying to turn the table against me, but he's giving me chances as well. So now the queen is threatening to go on c7, right here, causing a bit of damage. So he changes tack and he goes back to here, trying to stop the check. But now it's a problem for him. Now, I'm not sure if this was the right move. I suspect rook take g6 is actually better, because there are themes of checking here and picking up the rook on c8. The check here, and then picking up the rook on c8 onto the b7 pawn. It's not clear how the continuation can go. So rook takes g6. If he takes, queen takes f5 check, rook at f6, and we got, and this is possibly winning for white. Anyway, after pawn takes on g6, we now have king f8. So there's a little bit of backpedaling now, and black is not as comfortable as you would have thought. So let's just play a simple move, which is what I call non-moves. They just ask the question to black, what would you like to do? So because there were threats with the queen check on f5 here, followed by picking up the rook, he decided to move the rook out of the way. Once again, non-move, asking the question, what would you like to do? I'm very happy with rook here, and then check rook to f6 and take this pawn. So there's no need for me to rush at this stage. So now he's stopping all kinds of potential checks here. But there's a check on b8. Now he goes up here. And now there's a check on e5. Now it looks like white can draw. And usually when there's a draw on the board by force, it means there may be a win too. So I keep playing. So now I'm threatening to take on f5. He takes here, which is a little bit of a mistake. I would probably if you had played rook e7 like this, and if the queen checks, you can bring the rook back to defend. After rook takes g6, just taking this with check. Now he's setting up a potential jam around his king, because now I go here, and the king has to come out in the open. Queen here, so now one of the problems is if king f8 here, there's a checkmate with the queen here. Not a good idea to have that on the board when you're defending. So king here, preparing to oppose the rook, but then check here, and now you get check on this side, and this is what I meant with the struggle in practice. Is there is no set result in the game until the result has been reached. So you may argue that after my exchange sacrifice on e5, black was possibly winning, but like I said, it's not winning until it's been won. Rook here, and now the bishop was doing nothing all the time, comes into the actually after this it's a forced mate in 12, I think, but don't ask me how. Queen here, take, and so here it's the continuation is so queen to g6, and apparently the right move is d6 in this position with a forced mate. It's very messy. So bishop h5, the queen has to come in. Obviously there's no square, there's no move. The rook cannot move here because it's pinned. So queen here, I just took. There's no need to be cute when you're playing chess. And now I play d6. So I basically played the right move in the wrong order, but this is massively winning. And in this position, my opponent resigned. Remember, chess is a struggle. You have to pose problems to your opponent. You have to challenge, and sometimes, well, an exchange sacrifice, a little bit speculative, poses so many problems to the other side that eventually he loses. And there's always the time factor in chess, as your opponent is trying to solve the problems that you're posing him, the time is ticking.